thank you. You're not only a good-looking group, you're a great sounding group too. I'll have to sign you guys up for next year's tour. I am Steve Meyer. I'm the president of the Dubuque Arts Council. And our Artist in Residence program today is presented by the Dubuque Arts Council with the grant support from the Henry Family Foundation and Media Council. The idea of Spill Your Beans was cooked up in the kitchen of Jack Luke and Peg Cornils Luke. They decided to form a quartet of flute, clarinet, violin, and cello. Peg, who has played numerous times in New York's Carnegie Hall, is the flute player and arranger. Jack, a medical doctor and conductor, plays clarinet. His two sons, Wes and Jesse, both orchestra musicians, play violin and cello respectively. The Lukes actually have Dubuque connections, as Jack was born and raised in Dubuque. His two sons graduated from Hempstead High School. I know you will enjoy this unique musical group. Please welcome Spill Your Beans.
Well, hi, St. Anthony's. We are Spill Your Beans, and I want to tell you a little bit about us before we get started. One of the things that I think you ought to know is about musical instruments. Generally, with musical instruments, the bigger they are, the lower they sound. Now, the lowest one that we have is going to be right in the middle today. Son Jesse is playing it. It's called the cello. How low can you go, Jess? Sounds monstrous, doesn't it? All right, next lowest is probably the one that I'm playing. It's called the clarinet. That's right over here. That's the black one with all the holes in it. I got a question. Do you still have a Monsignor O'Malley Hall? Okay, I'm going to tell you a story here in a minute. All right, next highest on the spectrum, I think, is probably the violin. The son Wes is playing that. How high can you go, Wes? Yeah, we didn't hear that stuff. Okay. And then the highest one is the flute. Now, my wife Peg plays flute, and she brought 3 of them along today. So there's a great big one that's called the alto flute, and it plays kind of wishy, low sounds. You're going to hear that late in the program. And then there's the regular flute that you see all the time, and it's a gold one that Peg plays, really expensive. But it's the middle-sized one. And then, if you've ever heard bands play on the 4th of July, you always hear this instrument playing specialized solos. Let her rip, Meg. So those are all flutes. And the thing to remember is the little ones play high and the big ones play low. Now, while we have a couple other kids joining us here, I'm going to tell you a story. Once upon a time, 52 years ago, a little boy named Jack started 3rd grade right here in this very place, except it was across the street, across Rosedale. I started on the clarinet in the band program here. That was back when we had to wear, boys, we had to wear white shirts and black pants every day. Every day. None of this color stuff. White shirts and black pants, period. Girls wore kind of a gray and red pleated skirt, I think, long socks and white blouses, nothing else. It's very white around here. Anyway, across the hall, across the street, 52 years ago, that's where I started school. And I started playing the clarinet in Monsignor O'Malley Hall. And I have a remembrance of fighting with myself about a special thing in music called sharps. I couldn't figure out why they were and how they fit on my clarinet, F and F sharp, and I remember fighting with that right over there in Monsignor O'Malley Hall. Shoot, I remember this gymnasium coming out that door, the beginning of 8th grade. I led my 8th grade basketball team out here to start the season. Best game I ever had was on that basket right there. So I appreciate coming back here and having a chance to play for y'all. Because if you are lucky enough In about 50 years, you might be me. So I hope you're that lucky. All right, now we're going to play a tune. We're going to start with one that has what's called a gesture in it. Well, what's a gesture? Here's a gesture. Another kind of gesture is just a group of notes that send a message. And one of the most important gestures in all of Western music happens in a tune that you've heard before. It's called the Toccata and Fugue in D minor by J.S. Bach. Well, he's an old dead white guy, but his music still lives. And whenever you hear this, you get a special feeling. It's super important in our Western music. Well, my wife Peg took that little gesture and combined it with music from a really popular movie. It happened far away, a long, long time ago, with Luke and Leia, and Chewie, and all those guys. You know that movie? Star Wars. Okay, here comes Toccata, To Touch, and Star Wars.
So that was a lot of famous music. I love Star Wars, and Chewbacca most notably. When I was growing up, I started playing music about the same time all of you might start playing music here in the near future. And when you grow up, your parents help you with everything, you know, and your teachers, and everybody helps you. You play with all these other people, you play in orchestra, you play in band. And then when you get older, if you keep playing music, sometimes there's nobody else to play with. So I was kind of off-put by this idea. So I didn't really know what to play for a long time. And then I discovered this piece, which is also pretty famous. It's been in a lot of movies. You might have seen it on a car commercial before. It's also by that J.S. Bach guy. He wrote a lot of music. So if you ever get the chance to listen to that, it's pretty good stuff. But anyway, this is the first Bach cello suite.